So I bought a Kinect because I heard there was a horror game for it. Oh, why do I do this to myself?
The first time I heard about this was like in 2011, I can't quite remember, but it was at a convention called Game Fest in Birmingham, and I'm pretty sure it was only held once. It was so much fun though. I got to play a demo of Skyward Sword, the Silent Hill Downpour demo was off because it was too buggy, I got a bunch of freebies that I no longer have, and I crashed 2 separate PS3s. But my most vivid memory was at the SEGA Over 18s booth. I played House the Dead Overkill Extended Cut, some beat 'em up I can't remember the name of, and hidden away in the corner was a lonely Kinect with a demo of a horror game that I stayed well away from.
My interest in the Kinect was less than 0, in fact it was more in the -6 range. In fact it wasn't until doing research on obscure horror games for this channel that I thought about Rise of Nightmares again, and seeing how cheap the game and the Kinect is nowadays, I'm not really wasting anything by getting it. Other than my life.
Lol, I want to comment on the functionality of the Kinect itself first. I was simply astounded when the thing actually worked. Navigating through menus was surprisingly responsive if not a little delayed, and I had far too much fun with the position check guide you're greeted with every time the game boots up. Rise of Nightmares starts you out in a weird prison facility with a French girl as you try and escape from monsters and this giant dude. During the escape, your guy and the French girl, or whatever, end up in a trap and get crushed by the walls that are closing in. I was so shocked when they actually got squashed. I didn't think the game was going to go so far and go all saw trap on me. Cut to a train in Romania and we take control of Josh, some bloke with an alcohol problem, whose wife Kate is annoyed that he's still drinking and goes off on one. Josh pursues her through the train only to see that giant dude from earlier kidnap her, and some people get absolutely annihilated, and then the train derails. Run! From here we set off on a mission to find our wife and escape from wherever the fuck we are. Bitchin'. Right, so as my body is the controller, the way we get around Rise of Nightmares is quite different from your average game. We move the camera and steer ourselves by twisting our shoulders, and move forwards and backwards by either taking a step forward or a step backwards. And the bigger your step is, the quicker you move. But my god, this is rough. At least it does what it's told, so it's got that going for it. But there's a slight delay with the input, so precision just flies out the fucking window, and it almost feels slippy. Like I'm trying to just go in a straight line or go towards an objective, but I'm flying all over the place like a lunatic. Luckily there is an option for auto movement by just raising your right hand in surrender. Never has a game input said, I give up more than this. Not only does it make moving easier, it makes all navigation, well, redundant, as you're guided to your next objective like some on-rails monstrosity. I found myself using the auto movement at almost every available opportunity except when the ability was taken away. Now, I'm going to refer to these sections as puzzles, as they're set out and structured like them in a way that needs problem solving to get through them. But the problem I'm trying to solve is actually using the movement controls. These sections will see you maneuvering around obstacles using only your twisty shoulders and steppy legs, in an embarrassing display of mobility as you serve straitjacket realness. This, coupled with the slight input lag, had me shouting, "Fuck you, Sawblade!" more than once. Luckily these sections were few and far between, and whenever they were over, my right hand was straight back up, pleading with the game to just do it all for me. God, this makes my arm hurt. Some situational QuickTime events are peppered through the experience, and you know what? I don't hate them. Seeing as this is my first and only Kinect game, these were the most intuitive QuickTime events I'd experienced. It wasn't just pressing A or spamming X, I had to physically do the things to make the things happen. Like I had to duck, run, swim, swat off bugs, dodge.
Oh, duck! Whoa! I'm back.
Or there was this one point where I had to use my body to solve a puzzle. I had to mimic the statue's pose so I wouldn't be set alight. Like it said offer a prayer, so I just did prayer hands and then yeah, burn baby burn. So I stopped and looked around and saw the statues looking very suspiciously placed. And I thought, nah, I don't have to do that, surely not. I'm gonna look ridiculous. But there we go, the game had me down on one knee, reaching up to the Lord with a face that said, help me! I genuinely love that bit, yo, that was sick. There's other puzzly, solvey bits in which you can interact with environments and perform physical actions to pull and twist and open, etc. Interactable bits are really clearly indicated by simply standing still and reaching a hand out in front of you, you can activate these. Picking up weapons is done in the same way, and Josh will just walk over and pick them up really simply. And there's actually a really good variety of weapons here. Long range, short range, throwable, two-handed, one-handed, and some of them are just ridiculous, but I love it. The weapons degrade too, so you'll be switching between a lot of them and experimenting. To use a weapon, you bring both your hands up in front of you in a fighting stance and wave your arms around like a lunatic to attack with varying degrees of success. It registered maybe 60-70% of my swings and throws. Maybe I was moving too fast or something.
Swing your fucking weapon, you bag of shit!
And don't worry, I remembered to close the curtains when I was playing this so the neighbours didn't think I'd lost the plot. And I think you can influence the direction of your swing a la Skyward Sword, but about 16 times less accurate. Like, I can hit vertically and horizontally, with some enemies having armour to force you into a certain tactic, but my tactic was just kick, stab, stab, kick, stab, stab, and nothing could touch me. Well, sometimes they did. The slight input lag did mean a couple of cheap shots did manage to get through. I found it annoying too whenever in the fighting stance you lock onto an enemy, but I can't choose who to lock onto or change who I'm locked onto. So sometimes I'd have a zombie right at my side, but stuck locked on the guy in front of me, and they get a few cheap hits in before I had the chance to move out of the way. By no means do the enemies move quick, but your actions can sometimes feel slower than them, which I feel is definitely a Kinect problem. But once you start attacking them, there's no problem as long as you continue to kick, stab, stab! When it came to throwing weapons, I generally avoided them because I try to throw and then nothing happens. And I'm stuck and I'm regretting so many poor life decisions. Combat itself is boring when almost every enemy uses the same tactic to beat. Some may vary it up slightly by throwing up on you or exploding or some shit, but they still just require a stabby stab to dispatch them. I did really like this weird mouth-faced woman whose singing was harmful, so you have to cover your ears, and I legit think this is such an imaginative mechanic, and hilarious just giving her a kick to get her to shut up. I kind of like the zombie design though. The game itself, whilst not graphically stunning, does create a really weird atmosphere. Like, I got Jericho vibes from parts of it.
You've talked to me about Jericho, I swear to God.
I thought I said that I wanted to play Jericho.
Oh. I played Jericho. It's like this.
Monster with mechanical arms.
And the zombies all look grotesque with exposed flesh and bone. Really cool. There's also the big kidnappy guy from the start, and he's called Prowling Ernst. And from time to time he'll show up. You can't fight him, and if he gets too close he's an insta-kill, so you have to find a wee hiding place and don't move for the love of God, because he'll notice you and he'll rip you to bits. Which is easier said than done, trying to precisely maneuver into a small space. God damn it, game, this is not the mechanic this game is made for! Later on in the game you get access to this device you wear on your hand called Azov, which you activate by holding your left hand and putting your right hand on your elbow. You can charge it up to increase its power by staying in this position or by throwing your arm forward. A ball of lightning or some shit, I don't know, fires out and you just obliterate everything. It's super OP, so you're limited to 3 shots before you have to wait for it to charge up. It can be used to unlock doors too for progression. It would be really freaking cool if the bastard thing would work. I am trying my hardest to throw my stupid ball of lightning, but like with all throwing mechanics in this game, it can be incredibly unresponsive and unpredictable, leading to unnecessary frustration. But for all of its flaws, the game at least functions well enough to make it playable, which honestly was more than what I was expecting, which is ridiculous, and I need to higher my standards.
Speaking of ridiculous, let's talk about the story, so spoilers ahead, and heads up, the less serious you take it, the better it becomes.
So after the train derailment, Josh and a few survivors move forward in hopes of escape. Most end up dead if not chopped in half or transformed into monsters, and this lady who's all, "I'm English I am," gets kidnapped by Prowling Ernst. The bloke on the train with Ernst is mad scientist Victor, who is also responsible for all the zombie monsters. In pursuit of him, we come across a point in the story when I realise this game is actually taking the piss, as a bloke with the body of a dog just acts all cash. He probably has a name, but I just called him Dogman for the whole thing. We restore him back to normal and he gives us a key to a tower where we eventually acquire Azov. We rescue our wife Kate from Victor, and Ernst, who in a last moment of humanity, helps the pair escape, only to be killed by Victor for his betrayal. We begin our escape, only for Kate, who graphically looks awful, to enter a trance when she hears some music. Right, this is where it starts to get loopy. Like I thought, I must be really close to the end of the game now. But the story just kept on going. Victor, dressed as his dead wife Mary, or as he likes to say, Marie, says Kate has a life spirit growing inside her, her unborn child that Josh doesn't know about. And once these tower things are charged up, the life spirit will be extracted and given to Mary to bring her back to life. Victor killed Mary in a fit of rage after she accused him of killing their baby that he was trying to genetically alter to make perfect. Side note, and warning, I'm gonna go full mum mode now, but can we stop putting babies and kids in danger please games? Legit, the game I played before this had dead kids, and then I started playing Resident Evil 8 after this, and there was a baby literal minutes into it, and I had to Google it to make sure she didn't die and I could play the game for fuck's sake.
Wait, do I have control over this? She's pregnant. Oh, this has got a baby in it, I swear to God.
Josh destroys the towers, and Victor is burned to death. The game is still not over. Josh is knocked out and awakens strapped up opposite the corpse of Victor, and the dog man reappears saying he's fascinated by Victor and extracts this parasite worm or some shit, and that's the true Victor. Dogman puts this into Josh, and Josh is placed into the body of Ernst, and I have literally no idea why any of this is happening. The game should have just ended when Victor died. But now I'm Ernst, but I'm Josh. Oh dear God. Back in the facility with the saw trap from the start of the game during the events of the intro. Non-linear storytelling. Ooh. We find Dogman and he's turned that English lady into... I literally don't know. But we fight her and she sets Dogman on fire. Then a gypsy woman appears who was also on the train at the start, and I'm now convinced someone had a weird dream and made it into a game. She does something, and now I have to go through a dream world where everybody death drops and fight Victor, who's a robot for some reason, to get myself and my body back. So we defeat him and get back into our own body. And the game is still going! We cough up the parasite worm that is Victor and it dies, and so we go to Mary's dream world. She's looking after Josh's unborn baby, so we fight the demon Ghost Mary with Azoth and throw electric balls right into her stupid giant growth of a face. Save the baby and rescue Kate. Cut to later when Josh and Kate are on a train when a badly hurt man covered in bandages sits near them with a briefcase full of worm parasite things. Dogman! Cliffhanger. I am lost for words. You literally couldn't make this up. I applaud the imagination and question the sanity of the writers. I don't really know how I feel in the end about the story. It's so out there and random, but I wasn't expecting anything anywhere near as in-depth. I thought it was just going to be as simple as the bad guys made some monsters. Let's stop him. It's just bananas and makes roughly 0 sense, but I'm kind of mesmerized by it. I wasn't as enthralled by the final boss with Mary though. It was mostly set out like the others, which is basically an extended encounter with the normal enemy, but with quick time events. Except I needed to use Azoth. Oh, trying to shoot this stupid thing just work! And in all senses, that sums up how I feel about almost every aspect of this game. It doesn't work. The controls aren't precise or responsive enough to fit the speed the game expects you to work at. The story is comically bad at best and complete and utter nonsense at worst. And the platform it was made for just doesn't suit this kind of game, and the gameplay is incredibly simplified to make use of the Kinect.
I sometimes talk about untapped potential, but with this I don't like the concept to begin with. I really like the atmosphere, but I don't like flinging my arms around for combat. I think a more point and click style adventure game might have worked better than an action game, and you know, if it wasn't on the Kinect. Yeah, this hasn't sold me on the Kinect. Like, I thought maybe even with the lackluster reviews this might have appealed to me somewhat, but all it did was make me crave a controller. And a better game.
Thanks kids for watching my silly video about a silly game on a silly platform. It took me a long time to finish this game actually because I had to be completely alone when playing it, and obviously with 2 kids running about 90% of the time it was almost impossible, so it took literal months to finish. But I did it, and we're here. So thanks so much. Remember to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, blah, 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 blah. I'll see you next time, guys. Goodbye.